Prince Andrew's name leads a grim inspection report. Royal Lodge, the 30-bedroom mansion his called home for decades, is now considered too dilapidated to warrant any compensation. Nearly £488,000 was on the table if he agreed to surrender the lease early, but a condition of the property has wiped that out. Once regarded as a jewel in the royal estate portfolio, the mansion now faces structural repairs, roof reconstruction, and an electrical overhaul, with monthly maintenance surpassing £30,000. If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. The Crown Estate is unwilling to invest another pound while Andrew remains inside. Weiss is a physical symbol of how one of the monarchy's most disgraced figures let it all fall apart, literally. Andrew's downfall has been long in the making, but this moment, when even the home that represented his royal statue collapses around him, cements his exit from royal life. As King Charles continues a methodical removal of Andrew's remaining honors, including his knighthood and positions within royal orders, there's little left for him to cling to. The legal lease allows him to stay until 2026, but both insiders and watchers agree the lodge won't wait that long, and neither will the crown. You know things are bad when your royal mansion is in such rough shape that even the Crown Estate says, "No thanks, keep your compensation." Prince Andrew, once surrounded by privilege and pageantry, is now facing the brutal reality of what happens when you neglect a 30-bedroom estate for too long, especially when that estate was supposed to be a jewel in the royal portfolio. Let's talk about Royal Lodge. This isn't some cozy countryside cottage. This was a Windsor estate property, steeped in royal history, grandeur, and, once upon a time, properly staffed and maintained. But now, after a recent inspection, it's been deemed so dilapidated that Andrew won't see a penny of the nearly £488,000 he expected to pocket for surrendering his lease. Yes, the same man who walked into this mansion with an £8.5 million upfront payment for a 75-year lease is now walking away empty-handed, unless you count structural damage and legal headaches as souvenirs. It's a stunning reversal for a royal figure who once enjoyed one of the most generous lease deals imaginable. That upfront lump sum basically secured him decades of living on a prime royal estate with virtually no rent, just a ceremonial peppercorn annual fee. If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. But now, with the property requiring roof work, electrical rewiring, and even foundational assessments, the value of that lease is tanked. The place isn't just in disrepair, it's a financial sinkhole. To make it worse, the Crown Estate isn't just saying, "No money for you." They are also pushing forward with plans to repossess the estate. And honestly, who can blame them? The maintenance costs alone are absurd, over £30,000 a month. That includes staff, heating, insurance, security, you name it. It's no wonder they're eager to cut the cord and move on. And if you thought that was the worst of it, it gets messier. While the state of Royal Lodge might be a physical symbol of decline, the deeper cuts are personal. Prince Andrew has already lost his royal honors and titles. He's been removed from the Order of the Garter. He's out of the Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order. And now, the king is reportedly working to revoke what few royal ties Andrew still holds. Legal notices have been issued. His remaining status is being formally stripped, detail by detail. So, no estate, no titles, no payout. Just a broken-down mansion and a rapidly closing royal chapter. But here's where things get a little more legally complicated. Despite all the pressure, Andrew technically has the right to remain at Royal Lodge until October 2026, thanks to the terms of his lease. The problem? Most people believe he won't stay that long. There were even early expectations that he'd be gone by February 2023. Clearly, that didn't happen. But now, between the mounting public scrutiny and the cost piling up, many expect he'll vacate far earlier than his lease allows. Whenever he does leave, the Crown Estate isn't wasting time. They've already lined up a full property assessment. We're talking structural health, major repairs, electrical systems, basically a full reset. Because right now, Royal Lodge isn't just outdated, it's uninhabitable by royal standards. And if you're wondering how it got this bad, well, it's not just a matter of age. Yes, the property is historic, But decades of deferred maintenance, shifting priorities, and likely financial limitations have made it worse. At some point, repairs were deprioritized, and now the place has slipped into a state of significant neglect. The cost of bringing it back? Potentially hundreds of thousands of pounds. And it's not just cosmetic. This is deep work, roofing, foundation, infrastructure. The kind of renovation that doesn't come with a royal ribbon cutting, just contractor invoices and scaffolding. Meanwhile, as Andrew's royal standing continues to unravel, the optics couldn't be clearer. The collapse of Royal Lodge mirrors his fall from royal grace. Once a central figure in the monarchy, now sidelined, his public image tainted and his lifestyle reduced to damage control. What's even more striking is how the stripping of his titles is being carried out. It's not some quiet internal process. These are formal revocations, with paperwork, procedures, and legal filings. Every symbolic tie to the monarchy is being undone, step by step. And that process isn't just about Andrew. It sends a broader message. This is the royal family drawing a very public line. Titles and privileges aren't just handed out forever. They can, and will, be taken back. It's a full-on reset of Andrew's role, identity, and, at this point, even his living situation. Now, where he'll go next is still unclear. There's speculation about a move to a smaller residence within Sandringham or another royal property. But nothing's confirmed, and the logistics are far from simple. Between ongoing negotiations, legal barriers, and the public spotlight, his future home is still a giant question mark. And that uncertainty isn't just personal. It affects the entire estate planning process for the monarchy. Royal Lodge isn't just a house. It's a historical asset with symbolic weight. How it's handled sets a precedent for other transitions, especially in the wake of scandal. This whole saga highlights just how complicated royal property management really is. It's not just about moving boxes and forwarding mail. There are legal agreements, legacy considerations, and massive financial implications. When things go wrong, like they clearly have here, the fallout is enormous. Because now, not only does the Crown Estate have to deal with a repair bill, they also have to navigate public perception. And let's be honest, seeing a royal residence fall into this kind of disrepair, under the watch of disgraced royal, doesn't exactly scream stability or dignity. And yet, here we are. A 30-bedroom mansion, rotting under years of neglect. A prince, stripped of his honors. A royal institution quietly distancing itself from one of its own. And a financial mess that no one's particularly eager to clean up. It's almost poetic. The peeling wallpaper, the failing roof, the outdated wiring. They're not just physical issues. They're metaphors. Royal Lodge, once grand and gleaming, now stands as a crumbling monument to Andrew's downfall. The timing of it all, too, makes things worse. With the king solidifying his reign and the royal institution recalibrating its image, Andrew's situation is an inconvenient blemish they are trying hard to scrub away. Every delay, every headline, every expense is a reminder of the past they are trying to move on from. And yet, the story isn't over. Whether Andrew clings to the lease until 2026 or agrees to leave sooner, there's still more drama to come. The handover of Royal Lodge won't be quiet. The repairs won't be cheap. And the public interest? Still sky high. Because at the heart of it, this isn't just about property. It's about image, responsibility, and the price of privilege left unchecked. So, what do you think? Should Andrew be forced out now, or should he be allowed to stay until 2026 as per the lease? Is the Crown Estate right to refuse compensation, or should they honor the payout despite the damage? And more broadly, what does this say about how the monarchy handles its own internal mess? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if you found the saga as jaw-dropping as we did. Share it with your royal watching friends. And hit subscribe so you don't miss the next meltdown. Because if this is how one royal lease ends, you can bet the next chapter will be just as messy. And let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. The warning signs have been blinking for years. Royal Lodge had long been a quiet fortress for Prince Andrew, a place where he could live removed from the daily public scrutiny, even as headlines swirled around him. It was meant to be a refuge. But behind those stately gates, problems were festering, literally and figuratively. Insiders say the house began falling into disrepair long before any official inspections took place. Repairs were delayed. Upgrades were minimal. And with Andrew's increasingly strained finances, the upkeep just didn't keep up. Maintaining a historic royal estate isn't like calling a plumber for a leaky tap. It's an entire operation. Heating alone for that kind of square footage? Thousands a month. Staff salaries, security, insurance, compliance with preservation standards. It adds up. Fast. But Andrew wasn't just slow to respond. He may have prioritized aesthetic touch-ups over essential repairs, which, if true, is a royal version of slapping marble countertops on a collapsing foundation. Looks good in pictures, until the roof caves in. By the time the Crown Estate took a good, hard look, the damage was undeniable. The place was crumbling, structurally compromised, unfit to be handed off or resold without a massive investment. Suddenly, the lease he once thought of as an ironclad security blanket became a liability, both for him and for the monarchy. And let's not forget, that lease, it wasn't just generous. It was unheard of. Over £8.5 million paid up front in 2003 secured him a 75-year lease with no annual rent aside from a symbolic peppercorn. In royal real estate terms, that's like buying the Taj Mahal for the price of a two-bedroom flat in Croydon, on paper. At least. But what happens when you treat a palace like a rental apartment and skip the maintenance? You don't get your deposit back. In this case, you also don't get your £488,000 compensation for leaving early. That's a figure Andrew was expecting, nearly £500,000 for turning over the keys. The problem is, you can't claim value from a property that's lost it. The condition is so poor that the Crown Estate says the lease isn't worth compensating. And yes, that's a massive blow. Because Andrew wasn't just emotionally tied to Royal Lodge, he was depending on that payout. With public roles gone and private ventures reportedly underwhelming, every pound counts. Especially when you're still living like a royal but operating on the budget of a disgraced one. All this chaos is happening against the backdrop of a broader campaign by the king to clean house. And when it comes to Andrew, the cleanup has been surgical. Title by title, honor by honor, it's all being stripped away. It started with stepping back from public duties. Then came the loss of military titles. After that, his Her Royal Highness status was quietly dropped. Now, the final remnants are being pried away. His knighthoods, his places in historic royal orders. Gone. Each revoked title is like another nail in the coffin of his royal identity. These aren't just ceremonial removals. They are legal, documented acts, complete with notices, unregistrations, and formal processes. The monarchy isn't just distancing itself with a polite smile. It's drawing boundaries, and it's doing it on paper. Some see this as necessary, others brutal, but no one can argue it isn't definitive. Whatever Prince Andrew once was in the royal hierarchy, he isn't anymore, and Royal Lodge, the last remaining symbol of that status, is slipping away just as quickly. As for what happens next, that's still a mess waiting to be untangled. Technically, he could stay until October 2026. The lease says so, and while everyone assumes he'll leave earlier, no date has been confirmed. Not officially, not legally, just whispers, rumors, and speculation. Some said February 2023. Clearly missed. Others suggest a quiet exit sometime next year. Still pending. The king reportedly wants it done soon. The Crown Estate certainly does. They want to get in, assess the full damage, and start repairs before things get even worse. Because let's be real, every month that passes is another month of deterioration, cost, and PR tension. And here's where it all starts to feel poetic. A royal prince, once untouchable, now living in a mansion that's literally falling apart around him. A palace that mirrors his public image, grand once, now tarnished, expensive, high maintenance, and in desperate need of a reset. Even the logistics of the move are layered with symbolism. Where does a prince go when the palace closes its doors? There's talk of moving him to a smaller royal residence, perhaps on the Sandringham estate. Nothing official yet, but the tone has changed. From privilege to practicality. Any new home will be smaller, less grand, more manageable. A forced downsizing in every sense of the word. Financially, logistically, and reputationally. Because wherever he goes, it won't be Royal Lodge, and it won't come with the same autonomy or prestige. The monarchy, for its part, is eager to reframe this, not as a punishment, but as a realignment, a way to move forward, to tidy up the past and focus on the future. But for Andrew, it's hard not to see this as exile. Not in the geographic sense, but in stature. This is a final curtain on his official royal life. Once it's out, the Crown Estate will begin the enormous task of bringing Royal Lodge back to life. That's going to take time, money, and a very skilled team of contractors, electricians, and preservation experts. Because even with all its problems, Royal Lodge is still a historic asset. It still matters to the monarchy, just not with Andrew in it. And that restoration won't be cheap. With monthly maintenance already at £30,000, a full-scale repair job could climb well into the hundreds of thousands. Possibly more, especially if foundational issues are discovered. The older the property, the more unpredictable the costs. Which raises another point. How did this get so far gone? Where were the regular inspections? The maintenance checks? Did no one notice the roof sagging, the pipes creaking, the walls cracking? Or was it all just conveniently ignored until the price of ignorance became impossible to hide? Because here's the thing, this isn't just about one property. It's about how royal assets are managed, preserved, protected. The fact that Royal Lodge, of all places, fell into such disrepair under Andrew's watch is more than just embarrassing. It's a red flag. It sends a message. Privilege without accountability leads to rot. Literally. And if you zoom out, the whole saga becomes a metaphor for the shifting identity of the modern monarchy. Old systems being re-examined, power being recalibrated, titles no longer guaranteed, property no longer protected just because someone once wore a crown. Prince Andrew's story is now a cautionary tale, not just about scandal, but about what happens when you assume your royal status will shield you from consequences forever. Because as the situation shows, it won't. Not anymore. The palace walls might be thick, but the public eye is sharper. And these days, there's no such thing as untouchable. And yet, even after all of this, after the headlines, the scandals, the stripping of honors, the unpaid compensation, there's still a lingering sense that Prince Andrew doesn't fully grasp the gravity of it all. Because let's not forget, this isn't just about a building. Royal Lodge wasn't some regular house with a royal lease. It was a house. The kind of estate that most senior royals would envy. 30 bedrooms, sweeping gardens, a private retreat tucked into the Windsor Great Park. It wasn't just a place to live. It was a statement. For decades, Andrew treated it like a given, like it was simply his because it always had been. He hosted events there, raised his daughters there, made it the center of his post-divorce life. And now, facing the very real prospect of losing it, not to another royal, but to the state, it's like a harsh awakening that the royal safety net isn't as indestructible as it once seemed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Royal Lodge didn't fall apart overnight. This wasn't one storm or one freak plumbing disaster. This was years, decades, of deferred maintenance. And that kind of neglect doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when you assume you'll always be protected. That no matter how bad it gets, someone will step in. Someone will fix it. Someone else will pay for it. Well, that someone has left the building. Literally, the monarchy's tone has changed. Under King Charles, the institution is being tightened, slimmed down, scrubbed cleaner baggage. And Prince Andrew is textbook baggage. Royal Lodge, dilapidated and expensive, is collateral damage in that process. And honestly, it's a little surreal watching it all unfold. A man who once flew around the world on official visits, surrounded by royal handlers and pomp, is now caught up in lease clauses and building inspections. His downfall isn't just personal, it's logistical, bureaucratic, measured in insulation damage and faulty wiring. There's a sort of karmic symmetry to it. You let the property rot, you lose the property. You expect compensation while the roof is leaking and the walls are crumbling? Sorry, try again. No payout. No payoff. Just an aging estate that costs £30,000 a month and offers nothing but headaches in return. It's almost too perfect. And what's even more awkward is that this mess doesn't just reflect on Andrew. It reflects on the whole royal operation. Because for years, Royal Lodge was held up as part of the royal family's mystique. A quiet but grand piece of heritage. And now it's, well, a money pit. The Crown Estate doesn't want to wait until 2026. Every day he stays, the costs rise, and the headlines linger. But forcing him out isn't that simple. Legally, his lease is valid. It was signed and sealed back when he was still in favor. And unless he voluntarily gives it up, removing him becomes a delicate, drawn-out process. That's why there's such a focus on backroom negotiations. Whispers of deadlines, soft pressure, strategic leaks. Because while they may not be able to force him out, they can certainly make it clear he's not welcome to stay. And so, the clock ticks. The mansion continues to degrade. The legal wrangling continues. And Prince Andrew, once a symbol of royal stature, now stands as a cautionary tale about what happens when privilege turns into entitlement. And yet, no public apology, no real statement. Just silence, and maybe the hope that if he waits long enough, the storm will pass. That the crown estate will soften, that public memory will fade. But here's the thing, it won't, because stories like this stick. Not just because they are scandalous, but because they reveal something. They pull back the curtain on the often unseen world of royal living. The contracts, the costs, the behind-the-scenes management of palaces and privileges. And when someone mismanages a world as badly as Andrew has, it's not just news, it's a reckoning. The question now isn't whether he'll leave Royal Lodge, it's when. And at what cost? Because once he does vacate, the work begins. Full structural inspections, major renovations, possibly even a rebrand of the estate itself, scrubbing away the association with Andrew's name. It'll take time, it'll take money, and it'll serve as a constant reminder of what happens when royalty meets reality. So what's left for Prince Andrew? No royal role, no public duties, no grand estate. The honors are gone, the prestige is gone, even the payout is gone. All that remains is a slowly unraveling lease, a legacy in tatters, and the awkward truth that even in the most elite circles, accountability comes, eventually. Maybe not always in the form of courtrooms or headlines, but in contracts, in titles revoked, in the quiet, undeniable fact that the palace doesn't have room for deadweight anymore, and that, more than anything, is what Royal Lodge has become, deadweight. A decaying reminder of a man who once had everything, and watched it all fall through the cracks, one neglected repair at a time. Let us know what you think. Should he leave now, or ride out the lease? Was the Crown estate right to cut off the compensation? Drop your thoughts below. Hit like if you've made it through this royal wreck with us, and subscribe for more breakdowns of drama, disaster, and the strange world where palaces become punchlines.